Good afternoon. Will you join us for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I call this meeting of the Crook County Planning Commission to order. Today's date is August 26, 2026. The time is 4:01. I would like to talk about our process. The meeting is being conducted in person as well as by phone and Zoom. This allows Planning Commission members and/or members of the public to participate in person or remotely. For members of the public, please wait until you are recognized by the chair to offer comments and/or testimony. For those online, if you would like to speak, please submit a request to the chat function and wait to be recognized. We would like to thank everyone for their understanding and patience. Minutes and audio recordings will be available on the public portal through the county website. The people joining me are your Crook County Commissioners, Crook County Planning Commissioners. We are volunteers that have been appointed by the Board of County Commissioners and make up a diverse cross-section of the community. The Planning Commission will consider the following agenda items. 1. Public hearing for proposed comprehensive plan amendment and zone map amendment. 2. Public hearing for proposed conditional use, home occupation. And 3. Community development updates. Next is a roll call for planning commissioners. Commissioner Giovannini?
Here.
Commissioner Pont? Absent. Commissioner Warren?
Here.
Commissioner Steck?
Here.
Commissioner Kurtz?
Here.
Commissioner Newharth is absent. And I, Marlo Dill, am present. Will staff please indicate for the record which absences are excused or unexcused?
All absences are excused.
Thank you. Public comment. Is there anyone in the meeting room or participating remotely that wishes to address an item not on the agenda? If attending remotely, please enter a request to speak in the chat function. Hearing and seeing none, we will now mute all lines of those who are not staff or commissioners and will move to the first item on the agenda. Public hearing. We will now move to the next item on the agenda, public hearing for county file numbers 217-26-000141-PLNG, comprehensive plan amendment, and 217-26-00142-PLNG, zone map amendment. Bryce and Shauna Clark submitted land use applications on May 21st, 2026, requesting a comprehensive plan change and zone map amendment for 79.65 acres located at 8400 Southwest McDonald Road in Powell Butte. Tax lots 300 and 900. Represented by Kilpatrick Consulting, LLC and Caledon Law, the applicants seek to rezone the property from exclusive farm use 3, EFU 3, to rural residential 5, R5, and R10, based on an irrevocably committed exception. The hearing is being held pursuant to Crook County Code 18172, Administrative Provisions. The application is being reviewed with criteria under Crook County Code Title 18, Chapters 18-168, Legislative Amendments, and 18-170, Quasi-Judicial Amendments, 1888, Rural Residential R5, 1892, Rural Residential R10, 1824, exclusive farm use, EFU 3, 18180, transportation impact analysis, as well as compliance with Oregon administrative rules, Oregon statewide planning goals, Oregon revised statutes, and the Crook County Comprehensive Plan. Ex parte contact, conflict of interest, or bias. Do any of the commissioner members have a conflict of interest or bias to disclose?
No.
No.
I'm really good friends with Bryce Clark, and we've been friends since high school. We went to college together. He's a wonderful guy, and his family's great people, but I've just been friends with him, done some work for him. It won't rule on what my judgment is, but I wanted to bring that to the table.
I myself would bring to the table that Bryce Clark Construction has built a hay barn on our property in the past. And I do know Shauna Clark. Kids grew up together. Has any member of the commission had any ex parte contact with the applicant or any member of the public regarding this matter?
No.
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 Question,
Yes.
Marlo. You forgot to say that no, having them build something for you wouldn't influence your decision.
Okay.
I didn't hear.
Oh. Well, yes.
Okay.
Having Mr. Clark build a hay barn on our property would not influence my decision in this case. Okay, commissioners should disclose on the record if they visited the site and state on the record any observations and impressions from the site. Commissioner Giovannini?
I've been to Bryce's house, but I don't know if that's the same place or not. But that's been a long time ago.
Commissioner Warren?
No.
Commissioner Steck?
No.
Commissioner Kurt?
I live down the road, but I've never been on the property.
I myself have never been to the property. Are there any members of the public in person or participating remotely who wish to challenge any members of the commission? If participating online, please enter in a request to speak under using the chat feature. Hearing none, we will move on. Order of proceedings. Before opening for testimony, either in person or for those participating remotely, I want to remind everyone that all testimony must be directed to the applicable approval criteria and standards. No person may testify without first receiving recognition from the hearing authority and stating their full name and address. No person may present irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious testimony or evidence. Please do not repeat testimony. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence with enough detail to give the hearing authority and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the land use boards of appeals on that issue. Failure to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with detailed specificity to allow the hearing authority to respond to the issue precludes the applicant from seeking action for damages in circuit court. At the conclusion of the hearing, pursuant to CCC 081, the Planning Commission may consider any request to continue the hearing or to leave the written record open. We will start the hearing with a staff presentation. After that, testimony from any federal, state, or local agencies will be allowed. We will then offer an opportunity for the applicant to speak. Individuals to support of the proposal will be heard. Then those neutral to the proposal. Next, any individuals opposed to the proposal will be heard. The applicant can then offer rebuttal. I did not receive any requests to speak. Do we have that paper filled out? Is there anyone? No? Okay, we will now proceed with staff's presentation. Does the planning commission have any questions for staff before we get started?
Not yet, okay. Good afternoon, commissioners. For the record, Katie McDonald, Senior Planner, Crook County. And we're here this afternoon for first public hearing for a comprehensive plan zone map amendment for the Clark property. Go ahead and go next. The applicant is proposing a comprehensive plan amendment with a zoning change. The property is located at 8400 Southwest McDonald Drive. It's approximately 80 acres at 79 on the slopes of the northeast Powell Butte, moderate to gently sloping. This is 2 tax lots. They are both currently zoned exclusive farm use under EFU 3 for the Powell Butte area. There are existing improvements on tax lot 300 with a non-farm dwelling, garage, and outbuildings. Go ahead and go next. So this is a 3-part application as far as process goes. For a zone change, the applicants are requesting an irrevocably committed exception to goal 3. And that is a zone or that's a comprehensive plan amendment. So that will be a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. It includes the text amendment, and that the ask is that the goal exception taken for irrevocably committed be included in Appendix B. And then that goes to the Board of County Commissioners, 2 public hearings, if a recommendation, and then the map amendment to follow to actually remap. As you may remember, we've had a few come in where the first part had already happened, and it was just the map amendment. This is the whole process. So this is a 3-part process for the request. Go ahead and go next. So a goal 3 exception is goal 3 is the statewide planning goals. Go ahead and go next. And the applicants have asked for an irrevocably committed exception. The basis as the staff report, the applicants are citing unproductive soils, lack of water, and infrastructure to provide water, non-farm assessment status, surrounding residential pattern, existing development on tax lot 300, and then the county's adopted report with the Powell Butte vicinity citing the commercial farming and high value crops. Go and go next. Exhibit was received from Central Oregon Land Watch, stating that the record was incomplete. The applicant had not done their complete burden of proof showing the comprehensive plan keeping Powell Butte lands in EFU protection, that not all farm uses were impractical, that poor soils, lack of irrigation, and residential development adjacent to the property as not as needing to show a causational relationship for an irrevocably committed, and that the adjacent property to the south in itself is a class 7 same site condition that has dry land grazing on it and remains in farm use. And their recommendation was to not approve the exception without additional evidence. So that was very quick. The applicant is here, and if there's any questions, we'll be able to address that.
One question.
Yeah.
Regarding the exhibit 1,
Uh-huh.
but you guys deemed it complete with the staff report? I mean, I guess I'm trying to figure out what, where the county stands as far as, you must have thought the application was complete.
So the level of completeness is, has the criteria been addressed? Not, has it been addressed enough?
Okay, I got you.
That's where your interpretation has, how do you feel that the applicant has addressed the material, and have they addressed the criteria with sufficient evidence in the record to support a finding?
Okay.
Any other questions?
Do they have, how many of these have you done before in our county? A lot of them, these exceptions and stuff like this.
No. So the Pal Butte study was a study undertaken at a much larger level, with different criteria. There was, I can think of one that was done south and east of this property, the Spencer property that was done, but I don't know if that was done on an irrevocably committed exception or not. There's generally a high burden of proof for exceptions, as they are deemed to be exceptional.
So then we will move on to agency testimony. Now we will hear from any agency representatives. Is there an agency representative participating remotely who would like to offer any testimony? Only staff online. Thank you. At this point, the commission may consider setting time limits on oral testimony. As a reminder, written testimony is accepted until the hearing is closed. Is there any member of the commission who would like to propose a time limit on testimony? As we have not received any.
I'm thinking maybe if you want to explain slips, so people out there know. 'Cause maybe they don't.
There are slips in the front lobby here if anyone wants to speak for, neutral, or against the proposal. Ready? Okay. So at this point, we're ready to move to applicant testimony. Does the applicant wish to testify? Please be sure to state your name and address for the record.
Oh. Okay. Thank you. Want another one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Well. He's going to sing.
Good afternoon. Ooh, hello. They have improved. Good afternoon, folks. For the record, my name's Craig Kilpatrick. I live at 13790 Northwest O'Neill Highway. Very pleased to be here today to represent the Clarks in their effort to rezone their property. I'm joined by my colleague Heidi Bauer, who can give her own address in a moment. This has been kind of an interesting application for us because it's one where, as a result of working our way through it, we've made some interesting discoveries, which is one of the reasons that we'll probably be having more than maybe one additional meeting, because we're going to kind of break this up a little bit for you folks today. I want to talk first about the Powell Butte study because it's a very important component to what we're doing here. The Powell Butte study was a result of some suits that happened back in the late 90s. There were some applications that were challenged. There was a lot of non-farm application partitioning going on in the Powell Butte area, particularly by a particular number of folks. Kind of got the attention of Thousand Friends of Oregon at that time. There was a big hubbub about it. Ultimately, DLCD stepped in, provided some grant money, made some suggestions about doing a study of some of these areas. And so for quite a while, our county spent a lot of time with the help of a lot of citizens, with the participation of Thousand Friends of Oregon, other groups, other agencies. It was a very active thing for a couple of years. There were some decisions made in terms and some ordinance written. There were some challenges to those. Ultimately, it was decided to amend some of them. And the idea was that they were going to basically identify parts of Powell Butte in particular that had been really miszoned. And that kind of takes us back to a little bit further in the history of our land use in Crook County, which really begins prior to 1978. And 1978 is when the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance were adopted. That was a busy time for the county. We had Senate Bill 100, which basically told all 36 of the counties in Oregon that they had to put together these plans. Some counties had resources, some of them didn't. Wheeler County, for example, didn't get theirs done until 1980, and they didn't have any resources at all, and only 700 people lived in the county at the time. So they used contractors and folks to help them with that work, and it took a little bit longer. Crook County took a very different approach, in large part because they had a very active planning commission, because we did have some rules in effect, prior to that. And that planning commission decided they were just going to dig in. They got some outside help, but they dug in, they got it done. And we were one of the first counties to adopt our comprehensive plan in Crook County, in the state of Oregon. The point being that in part of the effort to get that done and get it done quickly, they took a very broad brush approach to the county. Believe it or not, back in 1973, which was when there was another ordinance put in place, we had no forest zone in this county. We had the EFU zone. We only had one. There weren't three. All of Powell Butte was called Ag 9, 9-acre minimum. So back in the day, things were very different. It's one of the reasons that you have a lot of pockets of very small development in the Powell Butte area. So jumping forward after that got adopted and we actually got the comprehensive plan adopted, but after that, then there had to be as the reality set in that some of this stuff was just too big of a broad brush. You're going to say, okay, Powell Butte, for the most part, if it's green, it's productive. If it's not, it's not. But it's still taken forever to change that. And so part of the Powell Butte study was to go through and identify what were decided to be non-resource lands. They were irrevocably committed to uses other than agriculture. And there were a group of these areas that were identified in the first round. And in the first round, you ended up with some stuff that was up in the northern part of Powell Butte, up in the Coronet Loop area, almost up to the rim. You had a couple areas that were over closer to the airport. There were a couple other ones that I don't recall what they were, but through the negotiation and through the working of this whole process, it was determined that there were ones that just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to have anything north of the highway, because in Powell Butte, that's where the larger ranches are, and that's where the more productive soils are. And that's where you wanted to limit the number of higher density development. So those areas were kind of tossed out. The stuff close to the airport was tossed out because it was thought, well, first off, the county didn't want to develop near the airport. And two, eventually that'd be in the urban growth boundary was the thought. So they eliminated those. So we ended up with 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 2-4, which are illustrated on the maps that you have. And those areas were clearly identified under the criteria as being irrevocably committed. Now, you can see that they're kind of spread out. You can see that for the most part, if you look, I'm going to draw your attention for a moment to in that map. What you're seeing pockets of really dry land, a lot of class 7, mostly class 7. The higher you get up the hill, the worse the soil. No capacity for irrigation water because you can't drill irrigation wells anymore. unless you want to pay $10,000 an acre to mitigate the water. You have the porous soils, you have higher density, you have the subdivisions. And so these areas were identified for a specific reason because they met the criteria, and there was a lot of negotiation that went on there, but they met the criteria for being irrevocably committed and non-resource land. Now, as a quick break, I'm going to ask you, not today, we're not ones to bring in a whole bunch of stuff and do a data dump on you and expect you to suck it all up at the same time. We have multiple hearings involved in this, so we're going to have some time. But you'll notice that I brought before you, staff gave you this 30-some page Powell Butte Resource Lands. It's a great document. It's well written. It gives you a wonderful history of this and gives you a lot of background on the means of the decision making and how these parcels got created. It's really, really well done. It was part of a larger package. There was ultimately another group. Let me see if I can find it here. I know staff can make it available if it needs to. There's a final report of the Powell Butte study, which that one's a little technical. It mostly deals with the soil classifications and things like that. But this is a really good outline, I think, for folks to get a better understanding of what went down. Now you're asking me, or you're asking yourselves, why am I bringing this up? Well, I'm bringing it up because approximately 44 acres of this property is part of the Powell Butte study. It's already been determined to be irrevocably committed, and it is eligible for rezoning. Now, let's talk about eligible for a minute. The county had several choices to be made when they did this work. And what they finally decided, and it was part of the negotiation, was if we're going to rezone these properties, is the county going to do that? Is it the county's responsibility to do that? And the county decided, no, it's not our responsibility to do that. It's the responsibility of the landowner to come to us and ask. We've created the framework for these things to be done, but we're not going to do the work for the landowners. It's not our job. So what you've seen over the years is you've seen groups coming in a little bit at a time with a group here and a group there, or part of a group, because sometimes back in the day, the neighbor didn't want to do it. Maybe it was the next owner that wanted to do it. So in order to request that rezoning to happen, they came in and they had to go through the process that we're going through now to do that. So as it turns out, approximately 44 acres, as is illustrated on the other map, this map that I gave you, approximately 44 acres of the subject property is already part of the 2-1 portion of the Powell Butte study. So that's part of the discussion that we want to have with you folks today. And then I think at a later date, we want to go back and better address that portion that's in the southern part, which is higher up the hill. And that's the part that we're asking to be added, to be basically starting from scratch, if you will. Whereas the other part is kind of a done deal. So does anybody have any questions so far? I know that's a lot. Yes?
Yes, you're referring to this map.
I am. So the subject property, Commissioner, is the area in red,
Yes.
which is it's all of it. It's actually more than 2 tax lots. It's 2 legal parcels because they were involved in non-farm stuff back in 2019, I believe. And so you have 2 parcels there. And so the line that delineates the blue from the rest, that's actually a quarter line. And a quarter in the survey line, they aligned that up because it was the southernmost edge of the adjacent subdivision. And so they just ran it across, they ran it out onto some other properties and said, there's a block of that, which is better defined in your other map. It's going to be area 2-1. And then 2-1 also had some other components. There's a spot that was just right across the road where there's been a subdivision that's been approved. There was one further out towards, what is that up there? The Landress property, Iron, whatever, other subdivision. That was actually a Measure 37 claim subdivision. And then there was another one over that was done by Robert Richter that's over off of Copley Road. So we've got some of these properties that are part of the Powell Butte Study 2-1 that have already been zoned and they've already been developed. Does that answer your question?
Yes, but can I ask you one more question?
Absolutely.
Because I see the lines on here. On this side, this batch here, is this land that you say has already been,
Those are existing developed subdivisions.
okay,
Anytime you see those little grids,
dotted
and-
lines are
and s-
actual individual tax lots.
they are
Are they, how big are they?
5 acres for the most part.
Okay, thank you.
5 acres was determined to be the minimum, because anything smaller than that's considered urban. You get into a whole different can of worms on that. Some of the Powell Butte areas were designated as 10. Some, like West Powell Butte Estates, which is also part of a little bit different process, but a similar one, those were determined to be 20s. And then in the 2-4 area, which you've probably seen the most of, Commissioner Steck, because I've brought in several of them in the past, that's the area up near Bussett Road in the cemetery. And up there, because there was some intensive farming on a pivot or two, it was determined that they were gonna grade that. So those lots that were closest to the farming were developed as 20s, and then behind them, a step away, were the 10s. So 5, 10s, and 20s is all you're going to see in anything having to do with the Powell Butte study.
Immediately to the east there, is that R 10?
Well, to the east, there are a couple of properties in there that are R10, that were designated that way. And then there's one 10-acre parcel that's in the middle that's actually a non-farm. And that owner, I don't know that owner, but I'm guessing that owner decided, well, it's 10 acres. I've already got 10 acres. I don't need to change it. That would be my theory, but doesn't really matter. So as you can see, I mean, it's not the only argument. It's not the biggest argument. In fact, it's just one of many, many arguments. But part of the qualification for this property is it's surrounded, for the most part, by existing subdivisions. There's a large property to the south, that directly to the south, that is owned by the Department of State Lands. Nothing's going to happen with that. And then there's one to the southwest that belongs to neighbor Mr. Stanley, which is a dry parcel. Now, water, of course, becomes an issue. We'll be talking about water issues when we get into it, maybe in a development phase. But just so you know, the water sources for this are, we have a letter from Avion saying that they'll be able to provide water to the development at a later date. There is no irrigation water available from COID. That's an impossibility. One, because they have a 10-year moratorium on establishing new delivery points. And two, you're not going to build 2 miles of pipeline to pull the water up there. Particularly to put it on crappy ground, because you have to buy it and take it off of good ground in order to do that. That's how the mitigation rules work within the Water Resources Department. You take groundwater out, you have to supply an alternative source. So unless there's any other questions, I think that kind of gives you kind of a quick overview of what we want to focus on tonight, which is pretty much this Powell Butte study, how it worked. Again, I would encourage you to read the document we provided you. It is double spaced, so it's not too painful. And it's pretty good overview, kind of gives you some good history. And we will be seeing more of these. There's not a lot of them, kind of getting down to the end of the stuff that needs to be rezoned. But we're going to see some more of them, and you guys should have the opportunity to know what was up.
Just one more question. So that's, this is why then, in the information, this was going to be some R5.
Well, the reason for that's a great question. Thank you, Commissioner. If you look at the map where we're proposing the R5 and the R10, we determined there's 2 things going on there. One, we put the R10s down in that area, well, essentially for 3 reasons. One, the property gets steeper there, so we need to have more ground in order to do roads and do the things that you have to do. 2, we wanted to create a lesser density where it was going to be up against a farm parcel, even though it's a dry parcel. You kind of like to give people their room. And third, one of the provisions of the Powell Butte study is that you have to have a 250-foot setback from any property that is zoned farm use. We had to make those bigger in order to be able to accommodate that setback. And so those 3 reasons were the reasons. And there will only be 2 of those that would be R10. The rest would be R5.
Okay.
And we will also be creating a parcel probably around 7 acres to accommodate the existing stuff that's on the property, the buildings, the outbuildings, and the existing home.
Okay.
Again, we're not designing the project at this point. We We looked forward enough to design it enough so that we could accommodate these two sizes and do a thing that made sense. But our efforts here are not to really design the project, is to get the zoning so we can. Anybody else?
Good. Any other questions?
Cool. Well, with that, I'll have Heidi talk about some other issues. Thank you.
Hi, Heidi Bauer, 56162 Sandpiper Road in Bend, Oregon. I'm an attorney for the applicant and Kilpatrick Consulting. I just wanted to address briefly a few issues. I know that we had the Central Oregon Land Watch letter come in, and they have many things that they're challenging this proposed exception on. First, as I think Craig explained, it's actually going to be a much smaller area that needs an exception, because as we went through the documents, we actually found that part of the property was in fact already changed. That is different from the original kind of application that was submitted, that we're actually only asking for, I think it's like 35 acres now or so. And then as far as the things that were brought up in the Land Watch letter, we do plan on addressing all of those. We do plan on submitting additional evidence. I didn't do that today because it would have been rushed. And I also, as Craig mentioned, I don't think dumping something on you right before the hearing really made a lot of sense. I've kind of learned that, my lesson on that. So I'm happy to answer questions if you have them, but otherwise we will be addressing the issues that were raised in the staff report and in the letter. And I think you'll find that we will have substantial evidence to support the exception.
Appreciate you not dumping everything off us.
I've done it before. I now know better.
Any questions for Heidi?
I do. Okay, so you might have alluded to this. I'll make sure I try to ask it the right way.
Sure.
In their letter, when they were talking about, you mentioned that the amount of acreage we're specifically talking about is smaller because the other had already been part of the plan. Is that, am I reading, if I?
Yes,
understand?
that's true. As part of the application and going through some of the items that Land Watch brought up and the staff brought up, we started looking into these other documents and doing a closer look at what was actually listed in PV2-1. And it turned out that part of the property was already included in the exception area. So I apologize for that, but we didn't even realize it till pretty recently.
And you're talking about the blue in the map.
Yeah, so the part that's not
Yeah.
in that area is the only part that we're actually asking for an exception on.
And let me interrupt for just a second. You know, we try not to miss much, but we clearly missed this one.
Yeah.
I've done, I don't know, 8 other applications. We've done all of the 2-3 area. We've done most of the 2-4 area. This, and I knew that the other 2 were done. This one was completely off my radar. So when Land Watch pointed that out, we went, well, wait a minute, let's take a harder look. And these are not easy things to find. You got to dig a little bit for this stuff. There's something, not some you call up the GIS department. They say they have maps of it. Turned out I dug deep and I had probably more files than anybody else because I kept a lot of that stuff. But man, it was buried deep. So we found it. We've come back, and that's just where we are.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, and maybe this is more of a question for staff. I don't know, but I guess what I'm trying to get at is, so their request for wanting additional clarification shouldn't apply to the part that's already in blue, or I mean, I'm just trying to get a feel for, is their question relevant on Land Watches or
Well, it would be to the balance of
for
the
the
property,
balance only?
right?
And that's my question. Is that balance a suggestion, or is it something that has been actually that the county made the plan for of what you're talking about? I haven't read what you are showing me, but what you guys are talking about. is that,
Understood.
You know,
So what the county did was the county adopted ordinances that made changes to the comprehensive plan that said that these properties within these 2- area studies were eligible for rezoning. So in other words, the first step of this thing's already been done. Now it's for the applicant to come in and say, this is what I want to do with it. And I want the county to recognize really what's already in the code. Maybe Will, you can address that a little bit, but it's, you know, it kind of makes this a little bit of a hybrid, and we'll be amending to kind of clarify that, so we make sure that the file is very clear on it.
The first 44 acres was part of this, and but you're asking to bring in the other 20.
The balance.
We're asking it to be considered be rezoned. The other's already been considered for being eligible for rezoning, and that's where we are. So again, it comes a little bit of hybrid. We'll have to work that out, make sure that we have sufficient findings to cover that.
And if I'm correct, Craig, tell me if I'm wrong, there were legal descriptions in the document, and that's how we figured out that it was part of the original.
You have to dig deep, but in each one of the individual ordinances, they actually wrote a separate ordinance. And then they put descriptions and they put maps and they refer to the maps. Now, this will be a surprise to staff, but we also discovered another anomaly in all of this, and I just worked it out with the county clerk. When these things were being assembled by county staff, somebody swapped a little pile around, and it's a weird little thing. But you go look at ordinance 128, and it actually has the text of 127. You found that, didn't you? And it's like, well, I mean, it just makes it even harder to decipher it. So I sat down with the county clerk yesterday. We went back and in fact, the stuff that's recorded at the county level is incorrect, but there are notations that were made by the clerk so that they'll straighten that out. It's just kind of a detail, but it just adds to the flavor of what happens when you're dealing with stuff that's 37, 38 years old.
Oh, the complexity.
I think I have another question. I'm being particularly thick. Okay, on this map, everything that's blue was determined to be eligible for rezoning
Correct.
for from the Pal Butte study. And the two bits that are hatch marked in the blue and outlined in orange are now ready to do the rezoning. That's what this is about. The rest of the property, which is to the south, which is the pretty much big square outlined in gray, we're not going to talk about tonight.
No,
Okay.
we'll be addressing that at our next hearing.
It's part of the application.
That gets into the exception part that we'll deal with. The part in blue has already been dealt with as far as the exception is concerned.
So the part though that's still gray is not eligible for rezoning yet, or it's in one of the other?
Well, it's not eligible by means of the Pal Butte study. We're asking that it be made as an exception because we believe the criteria is essentially the same and it meets the criteria.
But that will be at another time.
That'll be our next hearing. We'll be better prepared for that. We want to make sure that we go through very carefully and have the time to put together everything we want to for you folks to be able to make the right decision.
Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Anything else? So at this point, we do not need to take testimony in support. No one's brought forth paper. Right?
I don't have any.
That would be the same with neutral testimony or testimony in opposition. Okay. Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to testify in support? Any neutral testimony? Or any testimony in opposition? We don't need to move into rebuttal or anything here. Anything further from staff?
So, good evening, commissioners. It's good to be back here. For the record, Will Van Vactor, I'm the county manager. Our fearless planning director, is not here this evening, so I have the honor of being back in front of all of you. I think the outstanding issue is, how we want to proceed from here. What I'm hearing from the applicant is that in light of this new information and in light of some of the comments made by Central Oregon Land Watch, they would like some time to put some more information together. And I'm taking that as a request for a continuance for another hearing
Well, obviously, we're gonna have 2 hearings anyway, but we'd like to have 4 weeks instead of 2. So we have the time to address this. And normally you'd reschedule this in 2 weeks, right?
I think we're looking at October 14th
October 14th.
October 14th for the, to continue the hearing too.
But we can make it work. What are our choices? What are our choices? I mean, 14th is the soonest.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one after that?
The 29th.
The 28th, October 28th.
14.
14th.
Never mind.
And I know why. Yeah, I know. We'll make that work.
Someone needs to make a motion.
Now, is this going to be a continuance for additional information and additional testimony, or is this going to be a continuance? Does it need to be?
The record will remain
Mhm.
open and it'll be a continuance of this initial
Okay.
hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Well,
or did you, any other questions?
do we have any other questions? No? Thank you.
I move to continue the hearing to a time and date certain of October 14th, 2026 at 4 p.m. for additional testimony and
A second.
Okay. Moving into discussion. Any discussion? Start deliberations. Any discussion?
We can stay on.
Okay, motion was made by Commissioner Warren, seconded by Commissioner Steck. The floor is open for any deliberations. Hearing none, we'll restate the motion. I move to continue the hearing to a date and time certain of October 14th at 4 p.m. for additional testimony. Call for the vote. Commissioner Giovannini.
Aye.
Commissioner Warren.
aye.
Commissioner Steck.
Aye.
Commissioner Kurtz.
Aye.
And myself, aye.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good for you for catching that.
Very. Thanks.
Need to take a short break, or can we move into public hearing 2? Item 2. County file number 217-26-00151-PLNG. Conditional use home occupation. Paul Shepard, owner, is requesting a conditional use for a home occupation associated with artisan decorative metalworking activities conducted within an existing enclosed accessory structure. The property address is 12126 Southwest Viewtop Lane, Prineville, and identified by tax lot number 16-16-11-000-1300. The hearing is being held pursuant to Crook County Code 18172, Administrative Provisions. The application is being reviewed with criteria under Crook County Code Title 18, Chapters 18-4, Recreation Residential Mobile Zone, RRM5, Chapter 18-160, Conditional Uses, and the Crook County Comprehensive Plan. Ex parte contact, conflict of interest, or bias. Do any of the commissioner members have a conflict of interest or bias to disclose?
No.
No.
Has any member of the commission had an ex parte contact with the applicant or any member of the public regarding this matter?
No.
No.
Commissioners should disclose on the record if they visited the site and state on the record any observations and impressions from the site. Commissioner Giovannini?
I visited you today and thank you folks for letting us come in there. It's a beautiful home and yeah.
Commissioner Warren?
I also visited and appreciate the opportunity to take a look at the operation.
Commissioner Steck?
I did not visit the site today.
Commissioner Kurtz?
I visited today as well. Thank you for allowing us to see that.
And myself, I went on the visit today. Extraordinary views from Viewtop Lane. Are there any members of the public or in person participating remotely who wish to challenge any members of the commission? If participating online, please enter to speak in the chat feature. Hearing none, we will move on. Before opening for testimony, either in person or for those participating remotely, I want to remind everyone that all testimony must be directed to the applicable approval criteria and standards. No person may testify without first receiving recognition from the hearing authority and stating their full name and address. No person may present irrelevant, immaterial, or unduly repetitious testimony or evidence. Please do not repeat testimony. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence with enough detail to give the hearing authority and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. Failure to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with detailed specificity to allow the hearing authority to respond to the issue precludes the applicant from seeking action for damages in circuit court. At the conclusion of the hearing, pursuant to Crook County Code 18-172-081, the Planning Commission may consider any request to continue the hearing or to leave the written record open. We will start the hearing with a staff presentation. After that, testimony from federal, state, or local agencies will be allowed. We will then offer an opportunity for the applicant to speak. Individuals in support of the proposal will be heard. Then those neutral to the proposal. Next, any individuals in opposition to the proposal will be heard. The applicant can then offer rebuttal. We will now start with the staff's presentation.
Thank you, commissioners. Again, for the record, Katie McDonald, Senior Planner, Crook County. This will be another short presentation, hopefully. We're here for the conditional use public hearing for a home occupation. This will be the first time that the Planning Commission has heard a home occupation conditional use request. And as Commissioner Dill explained, we have multiple criteria that we're looking at. So within the zoning district, there are allowed uses and conditional uses. Home occupation is allowed as a conditional use, identifying impacts and then looking at those mitigation opportunities to see if it can align with the criteria. So this is again for a home occupation application. Applicants are Paul Shepard and Amanda Gibson. Go ahead and go next. Property details is property is located on Viewtop Lane. As the picture shows, the views are vast up there. So zoning is rural residential mobile zone, 5-acre minimums. The legal description of the property is Lot 66 in Ironwood Estates Phase 3, accepting 10 acres. So in 2025, there was reduced to 10 acres. So the legal description shows that. So go ahead and go next. The proposed home occupation, the operational specifications is 400 square foot within an existing accessory structure operated by the applicants with one employee. Customer traffic is strictly by appointment only, no retail, no storefront, drop-in visits everything is appointment only. There's an existing access from view top for the dwelling. Again, a home occupation is to be secondary to the use of the property as a home. It's deliveries, the applicants have clarified that it will be standard parcel delivery, UPS, FedEx, no large vehicles. And there's adequate spaces on site for any vehicle turnaround or parking. Go ahead and go next. Existing public submissions, there's 18 exhibits, 16 of which are from area residents. Some key arguments from the objections is that there's commercial operations which violate the rural residential zoning. There's CC&Rs in place. They also cite to noise with machinery being operated, increase in commercial traffic, general traffic, wear and tear on the roads, safety hazards for pedestrians and animals, and submitted online listing for the business as an active commercial use. Keep in mind, please, the county does not enforce private CC&Rs, and as the zoning for RRM5 does allow for commercial operations as home occupations, as long as it is secondary to the nature and can meet the criteria listed for that under 18160. There were neutral and supportive submissions as well. So they are the argument from the exhibits in support is that the operation is quiet, private, and maintains the residential characteristics and appearance of the property, that it is a home for the most part. The neighbors report no negative impacts regarding noise, dust, glare, traffic, or safety. One exhibit did say they hope they didn't start a fire. So we're hoping fire safety precautions are in place. The applicants themselves submitted Exhibit 2, which did respond to some of the submissions. The picture on the screen there, the property is in blue, and the rest are the local area from an aerial view. Thank you. So as you're reviewing the application and the material in the record, has the applicant met their burden of proof to show how they meet the criteria, right? The burden of proof is always on the applicant to show how they meet the criteria or can mitigate impacts that are raised. Does a public testimony identifying impacts, is it relevant to the approval criteria? And then how is the response for each of those concerns? Can those impacts be addressed through enforceable conditions of approval? And a clear finding that the proposed use is a home occupation, not a commercial or an industrial use. Does it meet the criteria for that home occupation standard? And then the final motion with the conditions of approval and findings will need to clearly state how the Planning Commission came to that decision with the material in the record. So if there's any questions, be glad to address those.
I have one. On, and I tried to look, and is there a definition for home occupation? And because I thought we did this, didn't we?
Well, so our home occupation standard came from the I believe out of ORS 215. And I think what you're remembering is our conversation is when we were going through the model code update, because we went back through and looked at 18160, and that's why we have it's 18160 15 sub 7, and then A is EFU properties, 1 and 2, or all residential properties 20 acres and less. And then we have another section that's 20 acres or more. And then we have an EFU3 Pal Butte area. So the Planning Commission and staff have gone through with work sessions regarding the home occupations. And those are the subsets that came up at that point. But I will look right now to see if there is one.
That's what I couldn't
definition.
remember, if we had one only for that zone or.
For the RR5, yeah.
There is a general definition of home occupation in section
1808.
1808. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay. Home occupation means an occupation carried on within a dwelling and or a residential accessory structure by a resident or employees, depending on type, pursuant to chapter 18.160, and is secondary to the residential use of the dwelling and or the residential accessory structure.
Any other questions for staff? Now we will hear from any agency representatives. Is there any agency representative participating remotely who would like to offer testimony? No? At this point, we'll move to applicant testimony. Does the applicant wish to testify? Please be sure to state your name and address for the record.
Amanda Shepard Gibson, address 12126 Southeast Viewtop Lane. Thank you for taking the time to consider our application and the materials that have been submitted into the record. Our request is fairly simple. We are asking for approval for a limited home occupation for Forged Elegance, our family-run business on our 10-acre residential property. Our home is and will remain the primary use of the property. The home occupation is intended to be a small secondary use conducted indoors within a limited portion of our existing permitted accessory building. Throughout this process, we have worked with county staff to better understand the requirements that apply to a home occupation in the RRM 5 zone. When staff requested additional information or clarification, we tried to respond directly and modify our proposal where necessary. As a result, the proposal before you today is intentionally limited. We understand the neighbors have submitted concerns regarding noise, traffic, road conditions, safety, and the residential character of the area. We don't dismiss those concerns simply because we may disagree with some of the statements that have been made. What we ask is the commission to consider, however, is the specific limited home occupation that is actually before you for approval and the conditions under which it would operate going forward. We recognize that obtaining a conditional use permit means accepting limitations on how the home occupation can operate. We take that responsibility seriously. We are not asking the county to approve an unrestricted commercial or industrial operation. We are asking for approval for a limited home occupation described in our application, subject to appropriate conditions that ensure it remains secondary to the residential use of our property and compatible with the surrounding areas. We respectfully ask the commission to consider the application, the staff findings, the evidence in record, and the limitations we have proposed.
Do you have any questions for the applicant?
I do. On the first part of the presentation there, it talked about one employee that doesn't live on site, or do they live on site?
This is Paul Shepard, for the record. He does not live on site, no.
Paul, tell me, I didn't get to ask this today. What about, did I not see no sprinklers inside there, or you have no overhead sprinklers?
No, there's no sprinklers in there.
And what about your washout from when you work and you go to clean your metal out? You have any on-site way of getting rid of it, or what do you do with your waste?
The metal waste,
Mhm.
we recycle it. So
What about when you're washing out, or do you not wash out with water?
no, we don't wash out with water, no. Our process is the steel gets cleaned with wire wheels and gets gun blued, and then it gets a finish put on it. A wax or etc.
None of that stuff's going down your drain or anything like that?
No, no.
Sorry, Mark.
Go ahead.
On exhibit 12,
Go ahead.
your little map or floor plan or whatever, I was just curious, what's driving the 400 square foot portion of this? Is there something that
I don't know if I understand your question. What do you mean driving?
you're kind of saying you're only using 400 square feet of space within, but you have to walk between each of your yellow boxes.
Those are our work areas. I mean,
Right.
you know, usually, like I said, we have a part-time person, but the main two areas is really back there where you guys saw the welding table and the saw where it's cut, you know.
Right.
So those are the main two areas that we work in.
I guess what I'm asking is it's a proposed 400 square feet. What is it that is driving that? Is there something in the code that minimizes that or maximizes that?
That is in the criteria.
That it can't be over 400 square feet?
That's correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So I find it hard to believe that anybody's going to run anything in 4 separate areas without, I mean, you have to carry stuff from one area to another. It's all part of the same. Like if it was in one box, I could see it being like if one bay of the shop was that took everything into equation, that makes sense. But it spread out across, you're going to use all that space anyway for it.
Yeah, but some of that's personal use too. I mean, we have, you know, a couple cars that we restore and stuff. It's not, when you're only talking about 2 people, it's not a large operation. So, you know, we taped out the areas that we really work in. And when I'm at the welding table, I'm there all day. I'm not moving from area to area. When we cut steel, we're in that area. So that's sort of why I mapped out those main areas that we work in.
Okay.
If that makes sense. When we're working, you know, where the table saw was, you know, we're working on that table on the other side of it. So those are the main areas that we actually work in. If that makes sense.
Question. Go ahead.
The different yellow areas are used for different functions of the things you do. So
That is
for
correct.
things with metal and some with wood.
A little bit with wood, but mainly wood, metal, yes.
So can you give me like an example? This bit here, what is this?
Can I see the map?
What are these two, for instance, what are these 2 areas mostly used for? What do you do here when you're standing there?
Okay, so in the off the theater room there, the one area that says 3 by 18, that's a chop saw for wood.
Chop saw, okay.
Yeah, the 9 by 10.5 is table saw. And then the back area where the egress is, that's where we cut the steel. And then over by the bathroom, that is our welding table. That's where we weld.
That's your what?
Welding table, that's where we weld. So the two areas that we the egress.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And is the theater game room area that we walked through, is that not intended to be kind of a showroom?
You know, we deal with clients in Jackson Hole, Park City, places like that. They don't come to our showroom. And I had a huge showroom in Bend. The reason we moved out here is because no one comes to it. So it's not really a showroom. I mean, you guys saw it's our home theater. Our kids come out for the holidays, different things like that. We always have games out there and different things like that. So it's my man cave, guys. Come on.
My question was kind of along the lines with the square footage. However, how many people, is it just you and a part-time person or somebody else on a part? How many people do you think total at one time?
There's only ever going to be 3. So my son's part-time because of his disability, myself and one other employee. And, you know, the shop is one aspect, but when we go like to, probably 70% of our job, we're in Big Sky with an interior designer, either, designing furniture, maybe putting up a wood wall or adding steel fireplace fronts, different things. So I would probably say 70% of our work after we build it is out in the field. Or if I build a piece and sell it, delivering it to one of those places. So.
But it's very unlikely there's going to be a person working at each of these highlighted areas at one time.
Never.
Okay. And you said a finish that's just a wax. No, are you painting?
We do a water-based brush on the
Okay.
wood, and then the steel gets a brush on too. So we got a handrail that we're doing in Albany. It's an all brush on paint type outdoor finish. So we don't spray, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
We don't
Yep.
deal with that. I don't want to deal with that ever. So.
Okay.
I have another question, but I'm trying to figure out how to hold this up. Okay, this is you folks right here, and you're on a dead end street,
That is correct. Yes.
okay,
Cul-de-sac.
a cul-de-sac. And this, I don't know if you can see this, one of these buildings is your house and the other is your shop where you do your thing.
That's correct.
Okay, who's your closest neighbor, and have you heard from any of your close neighbors?
All of our closest neighbors have submitted in favor of the business. And one of my next door neighbor is here today, and she, I believe, plans on testifying.
Okay, that was my question about people that are surrounding you.
Everybody that surrounded us submitted that they don't
I
hear any
see
noise or
this
anything.
Exhibit. Okay, thank you.
And we do have 2 people to testify. Any other questions from commissioners or staff? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will move into testimony in support. Is there anyone here who would like to testify in favor? Kim Johnson? Please state your name and address for the record. And you have not put in written testimony. You're going to do oral testimony today. Thank you.
I signed a piece of paper for the Shepherds and I wrote comments on that. So I think that's important to make sure you guys have those. But So yes, my name is Kim Johnson. I live at 12024 Southeast Viewtop Lane in Prineville. I am a direct neighbor to them, to the Shepherds. And I appreciate your presentation. I didn't realize there was going to be some documentation of neutral and support testimony. So forgive me if anything is repeated. It's not my intention, but I don't know if there is. So may I begin? Yes. Okay. I live right next door, as I said. The Shepherds are quiet and respectful kind of people. They're kind of who we'd refer to as good people. Them's good people, right? And since I met them, due to this complaint surfacing, they're fairly new to the neighborhood. My husband and I have had them over. We've spent time with them. We've been over to look at their man cave. And we have really found them to be excellent quality character people, really neighborly people, eager to help and become an integral part of their new community. I feel bad about their reception that they've gotten from some of the people there, because we have found that they have been very quiet and private. The only reason why we even met them is because they were asking, "Hey, are we bothering you guys? There's been some complaints. Is there any problem you guys have? Please let us know." And so anyway, I have seen the Shepherds speak kindly of others and their situation that they found themselves in due to some kind of misunderstandings, but I've seen them take steps to correct them and to cooperate as much as they can possibly do, and paying fees of things that needed to be done and things like that. You guys are all aware of those, but in my experience, it's not always the case with people. And they've, let's see. I've found out through knowing them that they're part of a local church and they desire to be productive, members of their community. So I find them to be people of peace, and I think that they're valuable folks in the community. So I'm in support of them being able to live at their home in peace and allowed to pursue their passions in art and art creation on their own property from this point on. So that's all I had to say, but does anybody have any questions for me?
Where are you at in reference to their house? I'm sorry.
If you are looking at the map, their home is close to the road. I'm going to be right before their home. So there's me and there's the Shepherds, and then there is an empty lot where no one has lived for a couple years, I believe.
So going down Viewtop, you would pass your place before you got to theirs. Okay.
Yes.
Same side of the road.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm probably the closest neighbor. So
Thank you.
yes. Thank you for hearing me.
Is there anyone here this afternoon that would like to testify in neutral? Anyone here this afternoon that would like to testify in opposition? Mary Sue Davis? Yes. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Mary Sue Davis, and I live at 11802 Southeast Viewtop Lane. I live next to Kim Johnson. So you come to me on the road first, then Kim, then the Shepherds. And I wish those things that she said were what I would agree with, but that has not been the case that I have found, because when I addressed him about things that had happened with some of the people that left his property, about them throwing beer bottles out, and he said, "Well, I can't control my employees when they leave the property." I was a business owner too for over 20 years, me and my husband. And I know if somebody would have told that to me, I would have talked to them and made sure they either cleaned it up or didn't do it again. And when I addressed my things, he did come over after someone else complained, but my husband has gone through just gone through cancer treatment, and he's had a transplant in 2010. I gave him a kidney, and his health has been very fragile the whole time. And when he runs his machines, I don't know which one it is that's so loud. And we are, if you look out the side of my house, you can hear the machines going when he has those going through my house. And in my bedroom, it sounds like as loud as an alarm clock. And they started at 6:23 one morning. And I addressed that, and he said, well, he had came over because after somebody had complained, and he just crossed his arms. And he said, well, if I start at 10 o'clock, would that be okay? But my husband said, this is not an industrial area. It shouldn't be that loud. You shouldn't be working on those things that loud. And he had no interest in what our feelings were and my husband's health things. I know that, you know, if you do pass it, we probably will have to put our house up for sale. I mean, I would try to build trees or something, some kind of fence, because if you look at our house, there's like hardly any trees between us and them. If you look up the hill, and I don't know if it's some kind of a sound vortex or something that makes it magnified. I don't understand, but I have heard my husband, when he was woken up, say, I can't take this. And other things that he was concerned about is, you know, when we were in business, you had to have fire life safety. Are the walls rated for fire? Are the doors rated for fire, like a commercial building? I wouldn't have, you know, it has been better over the last month. There's been no big trucks. We had to stop our ring because when a big truck goes by, like a semi full of things, and it seemed like it was daily, they would be going about 50 miles an hour when they passed my house. And my husband had to silence his, you know, thing where it says, you know, something is happening on the property, because it's sensitive enough that when it goes by the street that it went off. The garbage man, we addressed him with that, but I think somebody else called the garbage department and told them, because when they go, the regular garbage men, they pick up the cans, you know, they're not going fast. But when they would pick up his dumpster, they would be going 50 miles an hour down that street. And they have changed that. I don't know if he, you know, when he was promising things, he was saying things that I knew wasn't true, because I've been there long enough. We built our house in 2018. You know, this was our retirement home. I did send other things in my written thing. I think you got that right. Yeah. So I tried to be a good neighbor. But those things were very disturbing to me, that he would, you know, dismiss it. Like, that's no big deal that somebody's throwing beer bottles out along the neighborhood. There's no big deal that people are going fast, you know. And I have 12 grandchildren. They come to visit once in a while, and we love to take walks. Now we go down to the park, or not the last month, but when all those trucks are coming down, we'd have to just go somewhere else because it wasn't safe. I like my safe neighborhood. I just not sure what other things I can say, but, you know, I have nothing against them as people, but, you know, we lost our daughter last year, right about the time they bought the place. So we were distracted, and we put up with people building things when he was building his, you know, buildings and things like that. But when he started being so loud that it's disturbing to our, you know, sleep, and to our, you know, sometimes my husband does have to sleep in for all day because he doesn't feel well. I don't know what else to do, but I guess that's all.
Questions?
Just for clarity, you live right before Kim?
Yes, I do. But Kim is gone a lot. Kim, you know, and the other neighbor, there was a couple that lived on the other side, then they sold it, and the new people haven't been there. So I know that they don't hear it, but we are a direct line down to our house from his house, and he's higher. I don't know why it is so loud. And it's not every time, because it's certain machines, I guess, that maybe he could tell you what it was, but, you know,
Lakita.
Two questions. One of them was, this is their place, this is Davis' place.
I'm Davis right here. I'm the larger one.
I mean,
And-
no, this is
That's
Johnson,
Johnson,
excuse me.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Johnsons are next door and then I'm the very next one.
you're the
And,
next one.
and our bedroom's right at that end
On
where it
that
would
end.
face them.
And did I not hear you say that their property is uphill? from
Yes.
you? And-
Yeah, I don't know why sound carries so bad, but
And the other question I had was about trucks. You said the trucks coming.
well, he was having almost daily semis coming and going.
What kind of trucks?
Well, I'm not a truck person, but it was, deliveries for whatever and I don't know. It was the semi type trucks.
Was this something that occurred daily?
It seemed like it. My husband has the ring on his. It wasn't daily, he said, but
Excuse me, I couldn't hear you.
he said it wasn't daily.
Right, thank you.
Any more questions? Are we done?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to offer any rebuttal testimony?
So the steel trucks were prior to my application or when I got turned in. I did not realize that was, a condition at the time. We immediately stopped that. The machinery she's talking about, we don't use, or the machine she's talking about, we don't use in what we do. And when I went down and talked to him, I took it pretty seriously. Let's go back to the beer bottle issue. That was during construction. There was contractors up there. I did talk to the contractors. The minute the contractors went away, the beer bottle issue went away. So as far as that goes, that was contractors. But I did have a discussion. I did take it very seriously. The steel trucks, like I said, we eliminated those. All deliveries except for UPS, Amazon, and all that are all done. So we addressed that also. As far as the tool that she was talking about, we use it in other things, but we did spend $4,500 to get a really quiet motor. I will enclose that area, the back of the shop. I think when she was talking about the 623 or whatever she was talking about, that was during construction, and they might have started a little early in construction, but our business doesn't start until 8. So most of the time we meet, with clients out in the field and stuff like that. It's got to be between an 8 and 4:30 type of thing if we're out in the field. At the shop, we work 8 to 3:30. So I did take what she took very seriously, what both of them said very seriously, and addressed those immediately.
What did you say you would be in closing?
There's some machines that we use for, I have a 1948 Jeep. I restore and do some different things. The back of the shop in that section is open, and I will put a garage door up or an insulated door or something like that. So, but I did spend, like I said, $4,500 to buy a much quieter. I'll be honest with you. It drove me nuts. So it was loud. So it's a lot quieter now. Like she said, in the last month or so, they haven't heard it because it's a lot quieter. But it doesn't have anything to do with our business. So it doesn't run early in the morning because we don't get out. I don't get up that early anymore.
So the site plan here on Exhibit 12, this part that says personal, is that what you're referring to as a garage?
That is correct.
Okay, and there's no.
There's no door currently, but there will be
Oh.
an insulated door.
Have to. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, I just want to double check with you. You're totally aware of the staff report about conditions that would be imposed as far as hours of operation and traffic, et cetera, et cetera.
That's correct.
And do you have any comments or concerns about any of those?
No, I moved from Bend to here. It is a little slower pace. So, the speeding and things like that, I did speed a few times. It was a little faster pace in Bend than here. I have slowed that down. We have one employee and my son, and they drive slow. So as far as the trucks, things like that, they've been eliminated altogether now. I think that, I agree with what staff said and the conditions.
Hold on. So your material coming in, how is that coming in then? How is your material?
I'm bringing it in.
You're just bringing it in.
Yeah, in trailer. And I try to limit that to, figuring out what I need for the month and then making one trip. Cause, and the truck she was referring to was a Swift Steel 30-foot truck. And when I initially met with Katie, that's the first thing we addressed, and we eliminated it right then. So.
Does the staff have any other comments in response to testimony offered? Any questions for the applicant?
Give me just 1 second. So if I could ask you to please go through your site plan that you submitted, Exhibit 12, and walk us through the square footage on that and what is in each of those areas, that would be
Sure.
super helpful. Can we get that up on the screen?
Excuse me, Commissioner Giovannini needs to be excused. Thank you.
Okay.
So
One question before, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
want to
fine.
do that, but to go back to the machinery that you said you got a different motor for, that you think that was the loud one, that had nothing to do with the operation.
that's correct.
That's for your
That's for me.
vehicles or whatever you're
Yeah.
working
yeah.
on. Okay.
And even that, I will, work on it 8 to 3:30, on Saturday and stuff. I try to be a very respectful neighbor, and I, did not realize that he went through cancer and so forth and so on. So.
And on this map, where would that?
Personal,
Personal up top.
in the personal garage
The
there.
personal, okay. Gotcha.
Yep. And there's no door currently on the back side. So like I said, we'll put an insulated door on there. And when I did meet with him and talk to him, we discussed that. So I will definitely make every attempt in the world to quiet that down. But that did not have anything to do with the operation.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. So the 3x18, the 54 square foot, that is a chop saw area. The 9x10.5, that is a table saw and a bench. The back sort of T area is a band saw for cutting steel. And the other part of that over by the furnace is where we forge the steel. The 9x12, 108 square foot is our welding area.
Do you mind just provide on that T-shaped area? Can you just to make sure the record's clear in terms of what the measurements actually are?
So against the wall there is 23x3. That is our saw, and our metal rack where the metal is. The 3x2.5 square foot there, that's just the saw sticks out. So we so they could walk around it, so forth and so on. The 11x6.5, that's our forging area and drilling area. We have a drill press there.
I noticed during the on-site inspection that the welding table area, the wall was sheathed with steel.
Yes.
Yeah.
The TIG weld, so there's no sparks from it or anything. It just gets hot, is how it is. So it's not really flammable. Now, don't get me wrong. If you touch steel, it'll burn you. It's hot, you know. But that's why the welding table is made out of the steel that it is, so forth and so on. So, and of course, when we're working on a project on that table, we do have to grind on it and stuff, and that's why there's steel wrapped around all there to just protect it and be as safe as we possibly could.
Anything further from staff?
So if we go down at that, says 392.5.
Oh, yeah, I changed it a little bit. I'm sorry, I changed it a little bit where the T is there. Sorry, I did not correct that. I think it's a little more than that, isn't it? 396, I believe. Add it up. You are right. I'm off a few, but it's still under 400 if I remember right.
See if anyone else maths is my math, but I'm getting 404. 40459. And these are measurements of the machinery or the machinery and someone working at them.
And somebody working at.
And someone working at
Yeah.
them.
So we could make an area smaller. Like the welding table area is pretty large. It goes from the wall all the way over to the foot past the welding table there. No one's going to work on that foot past the welding table. So I could shrink it.
So Commissioner Kurtz, for your question earlier about the square footage requirement, it's under 18-160-050 VIII, so 8. And that is, I believe, on page 12. Where it talks about the square footage.
During the on-site inspection, I noted that every area here you're describing was taped off in blue, and he was giving space away from the tables. So like he wasn't saying this is the workspace and was taped underneath the workspace. You know, there was space out a ways from each workstation. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I've not done the math.
With 395.5.
With
Maybe maybe the T there looks like an 8, but it's 6.5 by 11.
I came up with 404.5. So let's just, we still have it up on the screen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure. All right, so the 9 by 12 up in the upper right corner.
Is 108, right?
Mhm.
And then just moving down, so that rectangle, that's the top of the T, that's 23 by 3, so 69.
60 is okay. Oh, 69, yep, okay.
So I think that would,
60,
that
yeah.
would be the 9 feet difference.
New chapter, same essentials. Like science.
I can, like I said, I can eliminate square footage, especially at the welding area there, and drop that down to 8 by 12. Will that work?
8 by 12 instead of 9 by 12 by the personal
Yes,
area.
correct.
That's 108. Six. That'd be a 12-foot difference, which would bring it down under the 400. Okay. Okay, thank you for that, commissioners. If you, as you move forward through your deliberations and going forward, we've heard testimony on noise, vibration, garbage, safety, traffic, and the square footage requirements. Conditions of approval are proposed conditions of approval are on 13 and 14. The burden of proof is on the applicant to show how they meet the criteria. So reviewing the information in the record, citing the evidence in record, and identifying the testimony that has been heard, the impacts, and how those may or may not be mitigated within the conditions of approval, and to make clear findings, especially around the square footage. There are LUBA cases that have been remanded without specific findings around that square footage for home occupations. So where others may have, been broad, I would suggest to look at what's in the record to be more specific.
And Katie, that's what I was just reading this. So when this staff report was written, because it says, while the narrative notes the home occupation separate designated, it lacks the breakdown. But was that before?
So we got exhibit 12 today. So we're looking at the square footage. So the decision itself is this piece of paper here. And the breakdown, the square footage that was not detailed out as much as clear as has been provided for tonight's consideration.
Can we accept a revision to this exhibit based on the testimony this evening?
Yes, you can put that in as a condition that a revised site plan be submitted with as revised as discussed. Floor plan, not site plan.
Floor plan. Okay. Coffee, I missed the final count, so what did we come in?
With the revision, what was the final square footage?
Somebody should have written that down.
I believe it's
395.5.
yeah.
Excuse me,
395.5.
395.
Per will.
Yeah, which you should not trust, by the way. Very unreliable, basic math, but.
Math is not mathing.
I don't think I have.
And again, if you're gonna, well, you're going through deliberations and going through the conditions of approval, if you want to alter those, we need to go back into the staff report to identify the criteria so that we make sure that those criteria are directly linking to the conditions of approval. Which I can't help out with. Um,
Has the record,
we have not closed the record.
I think it's up to the planning commission whether or not to accept the testimony.
Okay, but if you do. we have that thing we will rebuttal.
Are we,
Okay.
We can hear from her. Carol Tompkins, please state your name and address for the record.
Carol Tompkins, 9799 Southeast Ridgeview Road, Prineville, Oregon.
And you have testimony that you'd like to provide us this evening?
Well, I live in Ironwood Estates, and we retired here in 05. And it's considered a residential area. When something comes in that's a business, then I question, that's just the beginning. I mean, we have kids in the neighborhood, and there will be more traffic because of the business. And I'm just afraid that our residential area is going to become something else. Even when we put our plans to the commission, when we first built in 99, and we built the shop, and they questioned us, what is the shop going to be used for? Because there's not supposed to be any businesses, in that area. And we told them it was just for holding, just to put stuff in,
Storage.
storage, correct. And I still want my residential place to live. And once something gets started, it doesn't stop there. Somebody else will find out, and, maybe more people will try to move a business in. And I don't want it.
A home occupation is allowed in this zone, though.
Oh, it is.
Yes.
Well, they told us we could not have any.
Could not have a commercial operation, but a home occupation is allowed.
So we could have rented our shop or something.
You could
Out?
have had a home occupation in your shop.
Okay, well, I didn't understand what we really bought into then. Oh. Okay, well, anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to offer any rebuttal testimony?
Yeah, so I am semi-retired here. Like I said, we have a disabled son. We really started this with him so that, you know, he could contribute to society. It's never going to be more than what it is. So, you know, it's not a production facility. It's not a manufacturing facility. It's art, one piece at a time. That's all it is. So.
Thank you. The commission will now determine if the hearing should be closed or continued to a time and date certain, either for additional testimony, additional information from staff, or for deliberation only.
Madam Chair, I move that we close the hearing and ask for a motion to begin deliberations. Got that?
Got that. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
What was her motion to?
To close the hearing.
To close the hearing and start deliberations.
For a motion to begin deliberations.
Do you want a motion first to close the hearing?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that one.
Okay.
So now we'll move into potential motions. Would someone like to make a motion? We need to vote.
Yeah, vote on closing the hearing.
We need to vote to close the hearing. Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Steck,
Aye.
Commissioner Kurtz,
Aye.
myself, aye.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to begin deliberations.
So. We do this one or this one. And then we can deliberate anyway.
Once.
Well, we're supposed to ask them if they want to wait. Whoop. Do we need to?
Oh, no.
Ask the applicant if they want to waive their.
Madam Chair, could you please ask the applicant if they would like to waive their 7-day? I don't believe that's in there.
It's not on it.
Okay.
It's here. Want to waive it or not?
Would the applicant like to waive their 7-day final argument?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. I try it again.
Yes.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that we move to deliberations. So we can talk about this.
We need a motion on the floor.
Yeah, we need a motion to either approve or deny and then deliberate.
Oh, okay. And then we deliberate. Got it. Okay, I make a motion to that we approve this application with conditions based on the findings of fact and conclusions of law contained in the staff report, the memos, and as presented in exhibits, testimony, and conditions and discussion tonight.
I'll second. Now we deliberate.
Now we deliberate.
Okay.
So what I would like to ask Katie, just to make sure that I understand this, is we would like to have added into the report a more defined layout, square footage,
Mhm.
Floor plan?
floor plan, thank you, which would fall under the 18,160,050 criteria. Is that what you're looking
Is that
for?
the right one?
Reference?
Correct. So what we would need to have is something in the finding that states the commission finds that the occupation, the home occupation square footage includes the machinery, the equipment, to conduct the home occupation, including the operation of those tools and equipment as reflected on a revised, clearly labeled floor plan to be submitted. Well, it's not going to be prior to certificate of occupancy. We could probably do it. There should be a time frame in there that it's submitted prior to signing the final decision.
And that's exactly what I was gonna say, so let's just use.
Yeah.
And then we could add that finding under the sub 8, where it talks about the 400 square foot, 30% of your dwelling or 400 square foot, whichever is less, then reflected in the condition of approval for that.
So I think the light, you want to just go through each one, see if anybody's got any questions?
Oh, should.
Okay,
Shall we read through the conditions of approval to make sure we have answered all the questions here?
you want me to read? I'll read them if you want.
Hmm.
Okay, so the first one, all outdoor lighting shall
Sure.
downcast, shield, and motion activated where appropriate. But you got any,
Yes.
they're okay with that one? All requirements of the building and on-site departments are to be adhered to. All necessary permits are to be obtained.
Yes.
Any new signs other than internal wayfinding for patrons and emergency personnel require a separate planning approval when and if proposed.
Yes.
There shall not be any odor, dust, fumes, glare, flashing lights, noise, or other similar types of possible nuances which are perceivable without instruments more than 200 feet in direction of the affected residential use or lot in a residential zone.
Yes.
Property owners are responsible for verifying the location of the property lines.
Yes.
All manufacturing, cutting, fabrication, welding, sanding, and assembly operations shall be conducted entirely within the designated 400 square foot indoor area of existing accessory. Do we need to change that to the exact square
Yes.
footage?
That's where you could do that.
In something?
That's where we would do that whole,
Mm-hmm.
Can I stick in some?
yeah, you go ahead,
Um,
or will.
okay. To be conducted entirely with the designated 400 square foot area, which will be identified to include machinery and their operations on a new, on a revised floor plan, which
395.5.
say,
The 395.
yeah, the 395.5 square feet and shall be submitted prior to issuance of the permit.
I think signing the decision, right?
Was the signing?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need something else there? Is that good enough for there?
So I think what I heard is that the finding is going to include the operating of the machinery, the equipment itself, the tools, all within the revised square footage.
Will be placed on the floor plan.
Right, clearly identified on the floor plan, so that's what we would have that, and prior to signing of the final decision. Sounds good. That's what I got.
That good with you, Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
Commercial freight, let's see, commercial freight trucks, deliveries, heavy flatbed deliveries, and commercial trailer operations are strictly prohibited. Deliveries shall be limited solely to standard licensed parcel services, or UPS, FedEx, US Postal Service, or standard personnel vehicles. Is okay with that? Business-related machinery and shop operations are restricted to standard daytime hours between 8 a.m. and 3:30 p.m., Monday through Friday. Okay?
Yep.
The home occupation shall not operate as a walk-in retail storefront or hold public gallery events. On-site customer visits shall be limited to occasional appointments to prevent transient neighborhood traffic.
Yep.
All parking associated with the home occupation, including resident and parcel delivery vehicles, shall occur entirely on site, off public and private right of ways.
Yep.
Noise, dust, and vibration resulting from the home occupation shall comply with Crook County Code 18160.015 standards and shall not be perceptible without instrument beyond 200 feet from adjacent residential property lines.
Yes.
This permit approval does not consider any CCNRs on private property. Enforcement is the responsibility of the property owners affected by any CCNRs this property may be subject to.
Check.
I don't think we talked about adding anything since we included that in.
Up above, yeah. Any other deliberations where? State the motion.
Anna. When's our next, when's the next time we're actually gonna meet? Sure. Okay. You may want to add to sign outside of a meeting since our next regular meeting date would be October 14th. So if you wanted to provide a specific date in there of signage so the applicant knew how long they had for the revised site plan.
Would it work to sign?
Oh, floor plan.
Floor plan. Would it work to sign September 9th? We'll be here for.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I could do that. That's not even a.
Okay, was that your whole motion? Or was that just discussion?
Condition of approval 11, I am noticing a discrepancy in the code standard. So the 18-160-015. I may have to find that noise. I don't think that's the correct citation.
on number 11.
Yeah.
Correct.
In light of number 4, is number 11 necessary?
That's what I don't think so. I don't think that 4 takes care of it.
Yeah.
So if the commission wishes, we could just take out scratch 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Delete 11.
And then we'll read number 12 to 11.
Katie, I have a question for you. So, in light of the updated floor plan that was received, do you need any more discussion from the planning commission on the proposed finding you have? Because I think you note that what they had was a 225 square foot dedicated space. So do you feel like there's been
Which
enough?
one are you?
So the square foot, so 8, sub 8. You're finding in the staff report. I know they discussed the condition of approval relating to that, but is there anything else you need? Because you're going to need to update that.
Mm-hmm. So I think I have in the condition based on testimony and from direction of planning commission, you would like to have this finding updated to reflect that the everything with the home occupation with the business encompasses the operational space, the machinery clearances, storage, like all of that is included within that updated
Site plan.
floor plan, labeled floor plan that includes all of this will be in the finding, and then that finding will be reflected as a condition of approval. Is that
Yes.
Yeah.
okay? That's what I think.
All right.
Yep.
I just want to make sure you're okay
Yeah.
with what you got.
Thank you.
I need a motion to approve with conditions.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I would make a motion to approve with conditions, finding that the applicant has met their burden of proof and approval is subject to the conditions of approval listed in the staff report and as amended by the commission tonight.
One second.
Motion made by Commissioner Steck, seconded by Commissioner Warren. Call to,
With the decision, with the to sign on September 9th
the signing out of
out of a
meeting,
regular
out of
meeting.
the regular meeting on September 9th, 2026.
Thank you.
Call for a vote. Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Steck,
Aye.
Commissioner Kurtz,
Aye.
myself, aye. Motion passes. Community development update.
Okay, Will, what's our community development update? You just got it this morning.
I did. It's slow but steady. Slow but steady at community development. That's the message I heard.
All right.
But yeah.
Slow but steady, we do have the public advisory committees. So our kickstart meetings will be September 9th here at 4 o'clock. And so Anne has reached out to the chairs. We've reached out, I believe that we've gotten responses from we've gotten a lot of responses from people who are excited to serve on the committees. I think it's going to be a really great experience. I've reached out to Oregon State, to the Extension Office for any potential 4-H youth positions. And now that the teachers are back, I reached out to the high school. So hopefully we can get some youth appointments to be included on those packs. And that's really where that is. We have I believe we got another conditional use application in today that'll be at some point coming before you all. Anna, do you have anything? We're pretty steady. We're pretty busy.
So the 9th is not,
We don't have a regular meeting scheduled. We didn't have anything scheduled for that
okay.
time.
I was just thinking of when you sent out that email, so it's not a regular meeting, it's just those meetings.
Correct. It's the kickstart meeting for the public advisory committees, and then we'll go over.
Somebody's getting at, he doesn't have to be here.
Yes, so you don't have to be here, Mike, but you're more than welcome
Supposed to go to Parks and Recs board meeting.
So are all the committees gonna meet the first time as a bunch?
Yeah, we're gonna go over for folks who have not served on a committee before, what the public engagement rules are, what kind of expectations, real quick on ethics and just a couple of slides on how to run a meeting, how to be respectful, work with each other. There's going to be differences, but that's what makes a good plan, is to get all the different voices in the room and be able to be heard. So, and other than that, no meeting on the 23rd as of yet. So we'll see. Oh yeah, because John's going to be out of town again. So
there is one.
We totally enjoy Will coming down to the minors. It's pretty awesome. But
So on here though, it says there is, but there's not.
on the 23rd.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay.
So there's no meeting on the 9th and there's no meeting on the 23rd?
Not a regular public planning commission meeting.
And on the 9th though, is it starting at 4, just like it?
Yep, it is. Yeah. Yep. That's all I've got.
There being no further business, is there a motion to close the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Steck, seconded by Commissioner Warren. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
Aye.
Aye. I put together my ear, pills.